Hello, 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 and welcome back everyone to another YI video. And today we're looking at, hopefully on release, if the art department is in time with the thumbnail here, is Mudrunner Expeditions, the third game in the series of, I guess you could call them runner games, but really it's started with Mudrunner and then with Snowrunner, which was a very good game, and now we've got this one. Expeditions is, I think, less of a full-fat sort of sequel and more of a kind of side project, I'd say, personally. Budget-wise, doesn't break the bank. It's about the same price as Helldivers 2. For over here, that's about $34.99 for the base game, and then obviously there's a couple of extra editions that have things like season passes and all that. But that aside, the game is, this time, kind of focused around a single-player sort of aspect, and that might throw up a few alarm bells for a few people who really enjoyed the previous games with their cooperative aspects, especially with Snowrunner, which had quite an emphasis on four-player cooperative play as you work together to complete missions on the map and that kind of thing. Expeditions is kind of built around the idea of solo play, but there's a big thing here. There is cooperative being added after launch. There's no set date, so I honestly, at the time of making this video, have no idea when cooperative play is supposed to be added to the game, but it will be arriving. It will be 4 players. So if you had your eye on Mudrunner and Expeditions and you were sort of put off originally at the idea of no multiplayer, just be aware that it will be arriving at some point. So if you were looking at getting it and you and your friends, whatever, or you're going to get some copies for friends, yeah, keep an eye on it. When that update drops, you'll be golden. However, if you enjoyed the original games, or you played some Snowrunner single player, Expeditions is pretty much more of the same, with some nice quality of life changes. There's a few new features in there. One of the real standouts for me is tyre pressure. It's a simple mechanic where you press T and then you press A or D to basically reduce or increase the tyre pressure. By default it's at maximum. You press A to go to mid and then A again to go to the lowest amount of tyre pressure. It's at the cost of some extra fuel use, but it's really useful for being able to get over some pretty steep or difficult rocky terrain, and it's a lifesaver in some maps, especially in the Arizona setting, which this game has 2 main maps, Arizona and the Carpathian Mountains, sticking with again Snowrunner's sort of theming of having kind of East European sort of terrains and then having North American terrains of varying types. So yeah, tyre pressure, it's a huge switch up. It's really useful. It can be used on every single truck type, and it allows you, yeah, to get over some pretty, what seems like in the past impassable terrain. It's a quality of life feature I would love to see ported over to Snowrunner in some form, if they could do that. There are a few other nice little features. The UI has had a complete revamp. It's now a bit cleaner. It's easier to use some of the features. The V button, for anyone who's played Snowrunner, to open up the sub-menu that allows you to do things like repair and activate winches and stuff, that's gone. A lot of this has now been moved to holding down left control, and then you can click the different parts of your truck that are damaged, for instance, and then press space, or click the space button icon on the screen. And that allows you to repair all the parts of your vehicle that are damaged. You can activate winches still with F, and for the most part that I've discovered, it will actually attach a winch if it can reach it where you're pointing the camera, rather than just the nearest winchable object, which is so good, because again, Snowrunner had that issue of just being winching to the nearest thing. You had to specifically use the more manual feature, go here, attach that. You can still do that, of course, but it's a streamlining of some things, and it's much appreciated. And again, these are kind of things I would love to see ported over to Snowrunner if it's possible. So as a single-player experience, Expeditions is, the clue is in the name, essentially. The game is built around the idea less of having just vast open maps with a bunch of contracts and tasks to do, which is how Snowrunner was set up. Expeditions has more of a focus on you having a set goal. So you pick one of the 2 maps, and you progressively unlock new missions or new expeditions to do, and most of them will reward you with some new addition to your overall gameplay, whether that be a new building type that you can open up, talk about those in a bit, upgrades for vehicles, just flat cash bonuses, or specialists, which I'll also get into a bit later. And from there, you slowly unlock other areas of the world map that you can then travel to, and a bit like SnowRunner, the maps are like large, like interconnected spaces that you load into in between, and it's quite good. It's set up. I could see this again working quite well in the co-op sort of style of play, where you go on with some friends. You've only got an hour, and you decide to look at the mission and go, right, oh, let's do that one, and you just complete the tasks in order. The map usually updates where it is you're supposed to go, the different tasks you're supposed to achieve, if you have to bring any special equipment, specific trucks, that kind of thing. And then once you complete it, that's it. You can continue to drive around the map if you want, and you can do other things. You can explore it, you can find side missions and complete contracts. But if you were just there to do that mission before you have to head off for the day to do something else, you can. It's really, really good. It sort of just resets. You go back to the HQ, and then you can pick another mission the next time you play. And so Expeditions has this kind of sequential sort of like little sort of structured play narrative, semi-narrative to it. I would have liked some voice acting in there, especially in a game that's launching single player. It would have been nice to have had some some voices in there just to get some of the mission types through to you as you're driving around, because it's still a relatively lonely sounding experience. You know, you've got the music in there, but it's the music's naff. Honestly, you should just put your own tracks on. If that's what you did. I never really felt that the music was particularly good. But, you know, the actual core gameplay is still there. It's still quite solid. So yeah, I mentioned bases. So basically you have multiple kind of outposts around the maps that you can start missions from, or you can teleport to if you need to, for recovery and stuff like that. And as you build up cash, you can unlock structures at these bases that can do a number of different tasks. They can be things where they're storehouses that have things like repair parts and fuel and spare tires, but others can be things that will allow you to make a workshop, so you can create items from scrap metal that you find in places around the map, usually airdrops as they're called. And you can get things like expanded parking, so you have more vehicles. You can have basically some of the other things. You unlock more of these as you go along, and they basically expand the features of your base that allow you to have a bit more flexibility with how you approach it. Oh, a store is another one. Stores are quite important, because two of the most important additions to this game compared to the others are the jack screw and the winch point. Basically, they're basically disposable items that the first one, the jack screw, is a self-righting mechanism. Essentially, if you tip your truck, which everyone does in a runner game, sometimes with the best intentions, you always end up just tipping on the dumbest thing. We've all been there. A small rock somehow tips you over, and you're just flummoxed. You don't know how this has happened. Usually you'd have to reset, start again. With the jack screw, you activate it from your inventory by pressing I, you click it, you press enter, and then you can respawn the truck within a certain radius of where you tipped over, and you can continue your journey. The other one, the winch point, is you get about 5 of these. You can carry multiple, but they come in stacks of 5, so you have a limited cargo space unless you have certain upgrades on your truck, or like a cargo point on the back, that kind of thing, if they're big enough. And those are great because if you end up in a position where it's like, if I could just winch to something, we've all been there, you can activate these and you can drop them within a certain range, again, of your vehicle, and then you can attach to that and winch yourself out of a tough spot that you've gotten yourself into. Very useful, great feature. Would love to see this again, these two things added over to SnowRunner. It would completely alter the difficulty curve of the game, especially on some of the later maps in SnowRunner. But these two items are great. There are other things you can get as well. You can get like motion cameras and meteorological scanners and things. Some missions will require you to bring these items with you and drop them off at a location to complete missions. Others are for side quests, that kind of thing. tasks that you find around the map. Just like if you've played a previous game, you know, but there are areas of the map you drive over them, you unlock a task, and then you can complete that task. It's extra money. Those things, though, are great. Those two items are absolutely fundamental a lot of the time when you're roaming around on your own, and yeah, you end up tipping over. Brilliant. Absolutely bang on. But there's a couple of other little things. There's binoculars that you can use. When you get to a certain point, you can scan the environment. You'll see sometimes little question marks. You can zoom in. It's like if you hover over that, you get like $100, whatever, Mudrunner bucks, and those will highlight on your map. It's like, oh look, you know, this is a way to get up and down this hill. You found an airdrop. Oh, there's a mission over there. There's a river crossing or a ford. There's a load of those kind of things you can find on the map as well. So the binoculars are used for that. You get a drone that you can use that can complete certain elements of missions. It kind of functions as a hybrid of the binoculars, but it can also be used to do like the scouting mission. For instance, you get to a zone, you have to drive around it to scout the area. The drone can kind of perform that goal for you, especially if you're in trickier terrain. But the drone is also useful because it allows you to sort of see the area around you and maybe see a better route that you could maybe double back and take instead of the one that you've decided to go on, that kind of thing. And there's the depth locator, which is, again, very, very useful. Would love to see it ported back into Snowrunner, but basically you ping the water and it comes up with different coloured markers to show shallow water and deep water, so you get an idea what direction you can go in without accidentally damaging your truck or, you know, getting stuck in mud and having to winch yourself out, that kind of thing. And it's very useful stuff. Would love to see this. But in Mudrunner Expeditions, great feature, great addition, fantastic for being able to sort of deftly maneuver your vehicles around. There are a few issues I've come across in the time of playing. And I would only describe these as legacy issues of Snowrunner. Trees that if you hit a branch while you're driving past, because of the actual model might actually extend a little bit past the texture. So a tree branch is the most indestructible thing in the world. Your truck will get stuck on it, you bounce back, you get lifted onto your back wheels, whatever stupidity happens. Trees are the worst thing to try and drive around close to. You always give trees, if you can, a wide berth, because they are the worst thing. If a bit of your truck touches a tree, you are screwed. The other one is dead trees or large logs on the map. Just like in Snowrunner, you can get hitched on these things and you will not move an inch. Or if you do, you will find this tree rising out of the ground and tiny bit of your truck stuck to it, and you have to reverse off and go around the bloody things. And I just don't know why these are features that somehow have carried over. And I'm sure these are issues that I'm pretty sure I brought this up in the Snowrunner video I did years ago. And it's still there. It's just a really annoying aspect. Another one is sometimes taking random amounts of damage to your truck still exists. You're driving along, bang, tire and suspension damage. You haven't hit anything. You didn't bump a rock too fast. You didn't suddenly, you know, drop a little bit of height and, you know, hit a pothole, that kind of thing. You're just driving on relatively flat earth, and the next thing is, boom, you've taken damage. It's weird. It's obviously just an engine issue, but it's so frustrating to suddenly take damage that you're not supposed to, especially since some of the missions will even specify they will award you extra cash if you don't take a certain amount of damage. And sometimes those things can be, you know, one of those moments where you lose at 1500 because, yeah, the game decided, oh, you hit that, and you didn't even get near it. It's really frustrating when that happens. But technically, in the time that I've played it so far, I had one crash with the engine, which did come up with a crash handler, so it was an exception within the game itself. It wasn't system-related. Other than that, it's run really smooth. The footage that you're seeing is the game pretty much running on maximum on everything. So there isn't a huge qualitative leap graphically from Snowrunner, but that's not a bad thing. The game always looked quite nice. The trucks are very nicely detailed, and the environments always look great. Oh, specialists. That was one of the other things. You can hire specialists. You unlock specialists as you go on, but you can hire them, and they all have different bonuses for the missions that you're about to do. You can take 4. You take 4 trucks and 4 specialists. They cost money to hire for each one. So you have to really sort of weigh up how much this is going to benefit you. Well, there are ones that are like logisticians, who will give you obviously bonuses to buying and selling any gear that you find while you're out and about. There's Jaegers, which will give you like better scouting ranges. Mechanics obviously give you more uses of certain things, or like more supply parts, that kind of thing. They're all, they fill certain roles. Basically, they just give you flat buffs to you and, in the future, your team while you're out and about. There's also missions that take you indoors as well. I didn't get to see one in the time. I got a review copy of this a bit late in the day, but they have shown off that there are a few interior spaces that you can now drive around inside of. So that is a new big addition. They're being able to navigate like cave systems and stuff. There's definitely a kind of tongue-in-cheek element of this one as well. There's like weird altars that you find. There's like talks of ancient civilizations and all this weird stuff. So there's definitely a bit more of a tongue-in-cheek sort of element. I mean, there's a mission called Breaking Brad where you literally go out and find someone's camper van that's been driven out into the desert. He's a scientist. All this, it's referencing something that's quite a way out there now. So you've got some of that. There's definitely more of a kind of fun element in a lot of the mission write-ups and stuff. Compared to, I think, what could be called drier nature of SnowRunner by comparison. And there's a decent selection of trucks. Some trucks have been trimmed from this game because none of the environments have any of the sort of pre-established road systems. This is all literally like the most wild kind of terrain, so there's no use for road trucks, for instance. So those aren't in this game. There's around 20 odd trucks in total, split between off-road and scout and heavy duty, and it looks like it's a mix of vehicles that are from DLC packs from SnowRunner as a base, because the Tatra trucks are in there, for instance. I know they were a DLC for SnowRunner, so you get a couple of them. Nice mix. Obviously there's all the customization that was from SnowRunner as well. You can unlock new engines and suspension kits and tyres and stuff, and then you can make your trucks a little bit more better suited to the environment that you're navigating, and you can paint them, you can put stickers on them. All that stuff has been brought over quite faithfully. There was some extra little bits and pieces. You can add like sideboards and stuff so you can carry more fuel and parts and stuff. Visually it shows those on the truck, which is quite nice as you add them. So there's this, as I said, it's basically, if I had to sum this game up, it would be like a SnowRunner quality of life update, I'd say. It's not a bad game. It's more of SnowRunner. So if you really enjoyed that gameplay, going around and sort of completing tasks, and sort of, it's almost a little bit of a meditative experience of just on your own, just quietly driving around, maybe listening to some music or a podcast, whatever you're doing, and just navigating this, this relatively pretty terrain. It's great. It's more of that. And if you have completed most of or all of what SnowRunner has to offer, this is, a pretty good step to the next title. If you were really into the cooperative play, I would say wait until the cooperative update is released, and then jump into it with a friend or a few friends and have fun with that. If you were ever on the fence with the series, like you liked the idea but you weren't really sure about jumping into it, this isn't a bad one for new players coming in. As I said, there's a lot of good quality of life updates, new things that have been added. And it has an emphasis on kind of shorter style structured missions, so you can play a bit of it and then you can come back in a couple of days and do a bit more. The developers estimate there's around about 100 hours worth of play. Not really obviously sure myself, probably is, but that's probably factoring things in where you tip over or you go the wrong route and you go double back and stuff, that kind of thing. But yeah, there is definitely plenty to be done there. Out of the 2 maps, each of them have over 20 odd expeditions to do, and that's just the story mission things themselves. Then each map has a number of contracts to complete, tasks to complete. There's discoveries to make driving around, just finding stuff to do, whether that be truck upgrades, other vehicles to unlock for your garage, and being able to find all the other alternate routes on the map, that kind of thing. They're all available for you to do in the meantime. So like 100% completion probably would take you quite a while. And that's not factoring in the fact that there's going to be mod support, because they do have on the menu a mod expedition. So obviously, I guess they'll be able to allow people to make their own maps, I assume, in the future. And they also have the plan to add more maps and vehicles officially anyway. That there will be new content added, the same as they did with their previous games. So you will be able to roll around probably some other parts of probably North America and Eastern Europe, and yeah, do more of the same with new trucks added with each one. So yeah, new features, new gadgets, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's not a bad game. It's more of the same, which isn't necessarily awful. They're not, as I said, they're not asking a huge price for the game overall. And yeah, it's definitely one to check out if you really enjoyed Snowrunner. And if you're on the fence, then yeah, give it a look. And yeah, if you don't like it the first couple hours, you can always return it, regardless of what storefront you get it on. You always got that at least. But yeah, I think I've rambled enough. Mudrunner Expeditions. It's yeah, it's a decent little title. As a heads up, I was given code for this, so you know, take that for what you will. I'm not really shilling because I'm not getting it. I'm not getting any money. I'm not getting ad revenues off this thing. I was sent an email and I said, yeah, I'll try it. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Hope you have a good week. Let me know what you think of it if you did try it, obviously, and I'll see you all around in future streams and other videos. Until then, have a good one all. Thanks again. Bye.